Welcome back, everybody. It's Russ Barkley with yet again another commentary on ADHD. This one's going to be on ADHD coaching. And speaking of coaching, Johnny's back. He's going to be my coach for this lecture. He's kind of learning the ropes yet within the studio. Maybe you'll see him again one day, maybe not. But in any event, let's get on with our coaching commentary for today. Let me just bring up my PowerPoint. Here we are. This is the fourth in a series of lectures on low-tech solutions to help with ADHD issues, primarily for adults, although many of the things I've suggested could be used with children and teens as well. And that certainly applies to ADHD coaching, which has been extended downward to some extent for use with teens and certainly emerging adults, formerly known as college students. So let's have a look at what coaching is all about. Now, this therapy started about 16 to 20 years ago when Nancy Ratey first proposed this as a possible solution to help ADHDs with following through on their goals and their plans. As you know, I've said that ADHD is a disorder of performance, not of knowledge. It's a disorder of doing what you know. And Nancy put this all together and thought that if you could check in with someone, a paraprofessional for instance, frequently during the week, they could hold you publicly accountable for your goals and your behavior change plans. And if they're trained enough in life skills, in time management and other executive functions, they might be able to help you along with those areas of executive deficit. So kudos to Nancy for first proposing the field of adult ADHD coaching, which has now exploded in my opinion. By the way, Nancy's book is listed in the description with this video, along with other books you might want to check out, as well as other websites I'm going to mention toward the end of this presentation. So, adult ADHD coaching is really targeted at supporting individuals in a collaborative relationship with clients to promote the use of practical adaptive skills and strategies in daily life. So it's a little different than psychotherapy or even than cognitive behavioral therapy, although coaches usually incorporate some of those suggestions into their coaching. But they often focus on things like planning, time management, lifestyle, health, wellness, some focus on nutrition, and so on. Now, this is intended to complement other evidence-based therapies for adults with ADHD, such as ADHD medications, as well as things like cognitive behavioral therapy, particularly the therapies that target executive deficits. Have a look at Mary Salanto's book for clinicians on that topic in the description. So this is not meant to replace medication. It's not as effective as medication. Most coaches would encourage people to be on medication while they're working with a client, and maybe even to be in other forms of therapy as well. Now, there have been a few efforts recently to extend coaching down to teens in high school and especially college students with ADHD. Speaking of that, I'm going to have a book review next week on Thriving in College with ADHD, a book prepared by colleagues of mine that has both a manual for the college student and another manual for a therapist or a coach to help the college student with various aspects of executive functioning deficit. So watch for that video to drop next week. But back to the point here, there's a little bit of evidence now with teens, not as much as there is with adults, but the evidence base is certainly promising. Now, what do you need to know about coaches? Well, first of all, coaches are not required to have any professional degree or training in the mental health professions like a psychologist would, or a psychiatrist, or a clinical social worker. So as of this writing, there may be some guidelines and suggested educational requirements, but nothing mandated. Now, there are some organizations that have taken the lead in promoting a more standardized background for people who want to be coaches. For instance, have a look at the website for the International Coaching Federation. It's in the description. I'll show you to you a little bit later in this presentation. And there are some other associations trying to develop standardized criteria for coaching as well. Now, coaches are not licensed in states the way psychiatrists, psychologists, clinical social workers, or counselors have to be. So just be aware of that. We don't have a minimum standard for practicing as a coach yet, at least in the United States. Maybe elsewhere they do, but I doubt that. Coaches are not trained in a broad array of psychological or psychiatric therapies, or even in ADHD medications, though most of them have familiarized themselves with the more common medications that are used to treat ADHD. Instead, their focus tends to be more on daily life skills, supporting wellness, and maybe not so much focusing on emotional issues like trauma, certainly not focusing on psychiatric comorbidities like borderline or bipolar disorder or depression or other disorders common with ADHD. So just remember, they're focusing more on daily adaptive functioning and helping to address the executive function deficiencies that adults with ADHD often have. Now, be sure when you're looking for a coach to check out their background. All coaches are not the same. There's a huge amount of variability in the backgrounds and education of coaches with regard to the ability to coach adults with ADHD. The chad.org website, which is our national foundation for ADHD, has a very nice description of coaching, as well as a list of questions to ask a coach that you're thinking about hiring. So have a look at the chad.org website. I've also put that link in the description for this lecture as well. Now, what is the focus of ADHD coaching? Well, first, it can occur in many settings. That's the beauty of coaching. It can occur at home, at work, in the community, by phone, by text, by computer, by virtual meetings, by the internet, such as email, texting, or social media. The beauty of coaching is that these individuals can be a frequent part of your weekly activities. And that's what I love about coaching, is more than weekly therapy, for instance, or a monthly meeting with your psychiatrist about your medication. Coaches can actually hold you socially accountable for the goals that you're setting. They can also help you with suggestions with regard to your executive functioning deficits. So I think that's the beauty of coaching as one piece in an overall treatment package for adults with ADHD. It really fills that need for helping people follow through with their goals, as well as with some behavior change programs. Now, coaches generally target the following main areas, most of them dealing with executive functioning, others with life skills, to help adults with ADHD adapt to their disorder and promote positive outcomes. So coaching is really aimed more toward wellness rather than, say, psychotherapy. So look at the various areas that many coaches focus on. Maintaining arousal and especially your energy and activation to work. Organization and time management. Managing emotional self-regulation. Increasing and maintaining motivation. Basically, a lot of the things I've covered in the first 3 lectures in this topic of low-tech solutions for ADHD, those are the kinds of things that coaches can help you implement if you're struggling to implement them on your own. Some of them may focus on incorporating regular exercise as well as movement during more sedentary activities like sitting and doing desk work or attending meetings or attending college classes. They can help you with suggestions for maintaining some activity during that time when we know that activity can be helpful with concentration. They also are going to help you focus on diet and nutrition in some cases, on other lifestyle changes. Some of them even encourage sort of mindfulness-based practices, like that covered in John Mitchell and Lydia Zylowska's book on that topic. Others help support clients to carry out their own self-determined goals and actions that they want to perform. And even a few may focus on managing legal substances like caffeine, nicotine, and so on, which we know can get out of hand with adults with ADHD and can interfere with your behavior change programs. Now, I recommend that a coach periodically consult with other treating professionals involved in an adult's treatment package, such as the psychiatrist about the medications or whatever physician is prescribing the medication. Psychologists that might be doing more traditional evidence-based forms of therapy, or clinical social workers might be doing that as well. So there needs to be a team approach here, not each individual going off rogue and doing their own thing with the adult with ADHD without collaborating and coordinating that with other treatment professionals. Now, other things you might need to know are there's a small but growing body of research evidence that actually does support coaching as an evidence-based treatment for ADHD. It's not as large a body of knowledge as we have for cognitive behavior therapy for ADHD, or especially for medications for ADHD, but there's enough out there, and generally it finds very encouraging and promising results, in my opinion, so that I recommend coaching as one component in a larger treatment plan. Now, most of the research has been done with adults and college students, only a little bit with teens, so I'm a little more reluctant to recommend this for teens as yet, but as I point out elsewhere, if it's going to be done with teens, I think parents need to be involved in that as well. Now, coaching is often done on an individual basis, which I think makes it quite effective, but there's a couple of studies that suggested it could be done in a group format and also be helpful. So don't rule out groups if there happens to be one that you might want to join. And remember, it's a collaboration. This isn't some professional sitting on high telling you what to do. This is somebody working with you, with your ideas, with your goals and plans and needs, and working collaboratively with you, taking in mind or keeping in mind what you want to do and what ideas you bring to the table that they can help you with as well. So I like it because it's much more of a co-equals collaborating on treatment rather than on professional top-down management. But be aware, because of their limited background in mental health, coaches may not be so good at helping with comorbid disorders like bipolar disorder or other disorders that need polypharmacy, not just the ADHD medications, but maybe mood stabilizers, antidepressants, anti-anxiety drugs. Then it gets a little more complicated, and you really are going to need a psychopharmacologist, a psychiatrist to help with that management of those complications that arise from comorbidity and multiple medications. Also, if there's substance use or abuse involved, that can really interfere with a coach's ability to help you with your life goals and behavior change. So maybe that needs to get treated first or alongside the coaching that someone is doing. I find that people with antisocial tendencies don't do well in these kinds of collaborative arrangements, and indeed they're probably not even going to enlist a coach because of those tendencies. But where they might, it can be problematic, particularly with regards to psychopathy, lying, and so forth to their coach. There are also issues with serious medical problems with some adults with ADHD, and coaches are not prepared to handle that. So you're going to need medical collaborators or professionals to help you with those. So, excuse me, let me just back up here. There we are. Sorry, my finger's a little tricky on this mouse button. And then if you're going through unusual life circumstances, marital problems, a divorce, a death in the family, and so forth, you're probably going to need care through a better trained mental health professional, such as a psychologist or a psychiatrist, to help you with these more, I think, profoundly impacting events within your life. Now, for more information on coaching, have a look at the websites for chad.org, add.org, and attitude.com in the U.S. I have some other suggestions for websites if you're outside the U.S. But you can read on these websites and get more information about coaching than I was able to cover in this very short video. Now, let's move on here and take a look at those websites. The CHAD website I've put in the description along with all the other websites that you see here. A couple of websites that deal with coaches themselves are the ADHD Coaches Organization and the International Coaching Federation, and the EDGE Foundation, which helps with coaching with high school and college students. And also have a look over at Reddit and Quora. There are online discussion groups for adults with ADHD over there, and I periodically see people asking for advice about who do you know that's a good coach that they may contact. So you might want to have a look at their replies as well. Now, in Canada, check out the cadra.ca website for more information on ADHD, and they might be able to advise you about some coaches in that country. I didn't see it on the website, but you can write a question to them and ask them if they have any suggestions, particularly for the major metropolitan areas in Canada. In Europe, have a look at the European Network for Adult ADHD. Again, lots of information there on adult ADHD. They also list professionals in each country, and you might be able to contact them and find out if there are any coaches within your particular country. Also, Forbes.com has a website in which they list the best online therapies. It's not necessarily coaching. There may be psychologists and social workers and psychiatrists who are doing online therapies as well, but you might want to have a look at Forbes.com. Now, I'm going to bring up some of these websites and show you. Here's the CHAD website, chad.org. Again, this is in your description. That's the link there. And they have a very nice description about coaching. And toward the bottom of this article is a whole list of questions they suggest that you ask a prospective coach. You can see it here, choosing a coach with ADHD. Also, over at ADD Association, they have an article on adult coaching as well. So that's at add.org. Again, the link is in the description. So have a look there if you want more information. And then, of course, there is the Attitude magazine, which is attitude.com. They've got some articles on ADHD coaches, and they also have a list of professionals by state and region, and you might be able to go through them to identify a coach as well. If not, have a look over at the ADHD Coaches Organization, and they can help you find a coach, and they also list the kinds of things you might want to look for in a coach as well. So does, by the way, the website for the International Coaching Federation. They have, as you see up here at the menu, credentials and standards for coaching, what to look for in professional coaches, and a referral network, I believe, as well. So have a look at their website for all of these topics you see here related to coaching. Finally, this is the Forbes.com website, Forbes Health, and they list and rate what they believe are the best online therapies for ADHD. So you can have a look there as well. All right, everybody, thanks for joining me. I'm going to get back to work with Johnny over here, who's coaching me as well. I'll see you around later in the week for more commentaries and my weekly research review. As always, if you're not a subscriber, think about it. We just crossed the threshold for 150,000 subscribers, that in less than 2 years. I'm just blown away by the support that we're getting for this channel and promoting science-based information on ADHD. So I'll catch you around the web. Thanks again for joining me. And as always, live well, be well, and take care, everybody. Bye for now.